Let's bring in the aforementioned Jeff Goodman of CBSSports.com. All right, set up the next couple of days for me, Jeff. What's going to be really, really important here?
Well, I mean, certainly teams are fighting for number one seeds, Dan. That's probably as important as anything other than the teams that are fighting for their bubble lives. You know, the teams like Kentucky, the teams like Virginia. I want to see Kentucky get in. I do. I want to see them in the first four because otherwise, who's watching? I mean, I know VCU got there a couple of years ago from the first four to the Final Four, but I remember being at a bar in D.C., and I was the only one watching that game. Nobody cares when it's going on. So I think we want a team like Kentucky in the first four to care about it.
But if you're looking at other games that and I'm looking at this Duke-North Carolina game, and I think it's really interesting. I think it's a little bit under the radar. What if Duke loses that game? Do they lose that opportunity for a number one seed?
I mean, it depends. Obviously, it depends what happens with a Kansas in the Big 12 tournament, what happens in the Big 10 tournament. Does Indiana or Michigan win the Big 10 tournament? Because if they do, I think one of them will get a number one seed. But I wouldn't be shocked if Duke loses. And I've been on record saying I think Duke's the best team in America with Ryan Kelly. They were the best team. They have not lost with him. I remember seeing them down in the Bahamas. They were terrific against Kentucky. They've just got a lot of offensive weapons. However, I think it's going to take a little while for them to hit their stride with Ryan Kelly. I mean, Mason Plumlee has been used to, for the last 2 months, getting doubled every time he touches the ball. So if you watch him now, he's kind of rushing. He's forcing things instead of just waiting because there's no longer any double team.
I like Duke, too. I liked him at the beginning of the year over Indiana, and I see the difference with Kelly. I just, the way this is going now, nothing surprises me. So I think if I said I'll give you all four number ones to win a championship, how about this? This is the bet I got with the Danettes. I'll give you Indiana and Duke, and I'll take the rest of the field.
You probably, I do what you're doing.
Okay.
I take the field because Indiana and Duke, you're right, they're probably going to go in as the two favorites. But they're not that much better than Gonzaga or Florida or Kansas or Michigan or Louisville. I picked Louisville to win it all at the beginning of the year.
Wow.
I'm sticking with it. You know what? They were there last year. They've got veterans. They've got a guy in Jeng that can protect the rim. They don't have a lot of shooters, but they also have a coach who's been there and done that.
He's Jeff Goodman, CBSSports.com, joining us, Dan Patrick Show, one of the great college basketball writers in America. I mentioned this a couple of days ago, that the most popular college basketball player in America is Brittany Griner. Right?
It might be. It might be.
Well, because these one-and-dones, or even, Cody Zeller's a sophomore, but, Plumlee brothers, Brittany Griner is the most popular player, recognizable player, because she stayed. And these kids are one and done. That's my problem is I'm just getting introduced to some of these kids this month, and then they're going to be gone.
It's tough. It is. And that's why a lot of people want the rule changed. And if you go to college, stay in college, you have to stay in for at least 2, maybe 3 years.
But, Jeff, who is holding this up? Because every time I talk to Commissioner
NBA.
Stern, oh, it is.
Oh, yeah. It's the NBA. I mean, it's the NBA and the Players Association. That's what it is. It's not college. College would change it if they could. Mark Emmert, he'd cave to this thing and change it.
But Stern says he wants it. So is this the Players Association saying that we're going to fight this off as long as we can, and why?
Well, I think part of it is for jobs, for some of these veterans to save their jobs. You get all these kids coming in a little bit earlier, and some of these veterans lose their jobs, so they don't want that.
Well, the turnover is too much in the NBA, and I mean, everybody benefits. If I let you come out after high school, you've taken your chance, your career path. All right, you chose it. You go to college, you stay at least 2 years. You're a better player, a better person. You're ready for the NBA, and the NBA benefits here. What am I missing here with this?
Not a whole lot. And to be honest, part of the rule should be if you go out of high school and maybe you don't get drafted, you should have a chance to then go to college. Because these kids coming out of high school don't always get good advice.
All right, I would be fine with that. I mean, it's only 2 rounds, so if you don't get drafted, you're
only going to have 10 players anyway, Dan. You'll probably have 10 kids that will put their names in out of high school. Maybe 7 of them will be drafted, if that. So you're losing Kevin Durant, which is a shame. You're losing O.J. Mayo, who probably never wanted to go to college in the first place. Really, is it that big a loss to get all those kids for another year now? I mean, look at these Kentucky kids, Dan. You're talking about losing now. Nerlens Noel should go, even when he comes back from that injury, tore his ACL. He'll go because he's a top 5 pick. Look at like Alex Poitras and Archie Goodwin, 2 kids that really haven't done a damn thing at Kentucky. They're barely going to make the tournament if they make the tournament.
And they're going to go?
Probably. I mean, one of the 2 will go. Archie Goodwin, my guess is, will go.
Oh, man. Well, you got Shabazz Muhammad. If you don't go by the time you're a sophomore, you're done with your sophomore season, we look at you like, what happened to you?
Look at Mason Plumlee. I mean, he's a perfect example. A 4-year kid who came in thinking, and he told me this, he thought he was one and done. So now it's everybody, Mason Plumlee, he can't be a lottery pick. He's been there 4 years. How can he be a lottery pick? He would have been a lottery pick already. Well, he has gotten better, by the way. And he probably will be a end of the lottery selection at the end of the day. But, again, you're right. The longer you stay, sometimes the more warts you have.
This kid at Virginia leads the nation scoring.
Yeah.
Man, was he fun to watch against Duke.
Virginia Tech, you're saying.
Virginia
Eric
Tech.
Green?
Yeah.
Eric Green leads the country in scoring. Virginia was the team that beat Duke last week and has since lost at Boston College. They're right on the bubble. They've lost the entire CAA as well.
Remember when it used to mean something to lead the nation in scoring?
Yeah, you're right. Now nobody cares.
It used to be you could name the guy who was the leading scorer. Even Bird Everett and Freeman Williams and Bo Lamar and just Bob McCurdy. There were so many names that you'd go, and now you go, who's the leading scorer in the country? And usually it's a guy who's averaging maybe 25 a game.
Didn't Xavier McDaniel lead the country in scoring and rebounding?
I think he did. I think is he the last guy to do that, or did somebody else do that?
I think somebody did it since. I can't remember who it was, but I remember the X-Men putting up huge numbers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who that was. For some reason, I thought it was somebody out of the Missouri Valley who led the nation in scoring and rebounding. But, all right, best guess, top 4 seeds will be who?
Well, Gonzaga certainly will lock one in. I think they'll win the West Coast Conference tournament. They're the number 1 team in the country right now. They'll get a number 1. I think Duke should get a number 1 seed. But, again, I don't know if they're going to beat Carolina or not. If they beat Carolina, get to the finals of the ACC tournament, I think they're in. Again, whoever wins the Big Ten tournament out of Indiana or Michigan, those 2 teams play also on Sunday in Ann Arbor, I think gets in. And I think Kansas will get one because I think they're going to win the Big 12 tournament, finish out this season. They've got Baylor on the road. They'll win that game because Baylor's a complete train wreck. And you still got to look at who wins the Big East. Could Louisville win the Big East tournament or Georgetown and get a shot there, too? So I think it's kind of wide open. I think you got about 8 teams that are still fighting for number 1 seeds, which is fun.
We'll check in with you soon.
You got it, Dan.
By the
buddy.
Way, yeah.
Derek Jeter over Mariano Rivera. You know why?
Why?
Because he looks better.
Thank you, Jeff.
You got it.
Yeah. He looks better. You know what? We didn't factor that in. We were only factoring in what he did on the field and how do you look on the field.